Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for another edition of YBMcast, powered by Game 7 Baseball. Game 7 Baseball.
.com.
Yes, it is, and a fine .com it is.
Yeah, I was hoping I changed it up. I like keeping the crowd, wondering how I'm going to say it.
You know, exactly. And I'm sure Dave and Dave are wondering. They're sitting on the edge of their seats going, I wonder how Mitch is going to say .com this time.
They have to. They're like, he's got to finish this. I'm the closer here. And how is he closing the game? Is he going to just nail it, or is he going to have that immaculate inning, or is he just going to, give up a dinger up by 2 and then make us all sweat with bases loaded, 1 out?
That sounds like Isringhausen.
Well, I was thinking Ryan Hesley the other day, but you know how it goes.
Oh, man. Hey, Game 7 baseball tournament coming up this weekend down in Branson, Missouri at the Ballparks of America. We are fortunate, YBM, we're going to be down with the cameras talking to the fellas, mingling with the crowd. Hopefully we'll see you down there if you're in that tournament at Ballparks of America. We're looking forward to it. Finishing up the season. Fall ball goes through October. If you're looking for a tournament, you got some guys go, hey, let's just go play, grab a team together, go play some baseball. A lot of fun. Game7baseball.com. We've got, I think, a pretty interesting show today, folks. This is a subject, I think is interesting in the fact that when you're talking to kids, I think 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, go play baseball, have fun, enjoy it, learn the game as much as possible, just having fun, enjoying. If you go to a tournament, I've changed my mind on this, go swimming, it's fine. I know my son is upset with me now about that.
I actually think I might be upset with you about that.
Hey, you know what? I think we need to create a more consistent playing attitude towards things at the youth level, where the recreation stuff, it was fun. Let's not scream and holler at the umpires so much. Let's let the kids have some fun. Let them compete at the level their mindset puts them to. If that isn't what you expect it to be, then maybe, that's just the way it is. Then have that conversation. This is what, teach, talk, share, be that person, because in that, when we're talking about making your high school team, and that's our subject today, and people say, well, what do you know about making your high school team? I had to make my high school team.
I had to make mine.
Just like everybody else did. And just because I'm not coaching right now or anything like that, I've seen it. My sons went through it. I've talked with plenty of coaches. And I don't like the lists that are out there today. And I'm sorry. I'm going to back up. I think some of them are foolish. Oh, was that worse? I think that might have been worse, right?
I'm waiting for you to finish this out to see where this is going, because now you've piqued my interest, because I am the guy that likes to. I'm not super educated, right? So I don't have a high vocabulary. I'm not a thesaurus, an encyclopedia, dictionary. I don't punctuate, even though I kind of sound like I am pretty good at it right now, but using big words. I am very honest with folks, and I love where you're kind of going with this thought process, because at the end of the day, this sport's really hard. We talked about it last week. I think it was last week. We talked about how difficult it is to play college sports, and let's just think about how difficult it is to play high school sports. Why we don't have a spreadsheet that gives us numbers that's spitting out, what percentage of high school kids. I mean, you could just do quite easy math in your own organization. We have two, one 15U team and one kind of larger 17U team. 50% of those kids are going to play varsity baseball as freshmen, sophomores, and then 10%, if we're lucky, are playing at the varsity level. There might be, if you think what we have, 61, you said 61 organizations in the metro area.
It's quite a few, something like that. It's around there. There's like
some
24
large
very
number.
large ones, and then there's a lot of stuff kind of underneath.
Well, maybe I just made up 61 because it's in the news with Aaron Judge and him trying to hit 61. So my bad. But at the end of the day, think about how many 14-year-old teams are going into high school, and then how many high school age teams there are, and let's just say there's I don't know. 20 teams in the Timberland School District or Wentzville School District that are a high school level. If that's 20 times 12, that we're not having 240 kids on a team.
Yeah.
You're having 20 per kids on your varsity team. And so you're really only talking about 10%.
There you go. And this is the point. And I think this becomes something that we maybe we're looking at as parents and reevaluating certain things. Everybody, there isn't anybody that doesn't enjoy getting a trophy, a medal, or anything like that. I'm not a participation guy. Throw that away. There's no sense in all that nonsense. You're going to compete your whole life for opportunities, regardless of what you're being told by the woke mess out there. That's just not the case. You compete. So, I said that too. Anyway.
Oh, you know what boat I'm in, because you're not guaranteed anything, and you should not feel like you're given anything.
And this is the point to it, Mitch. Are we, like I said, 9 through 12, are we having fun? Are we enjoying? Are we developing a consistent work ethic? And I know people go, how's a 10-year-old developing a work ethic? Should be. But this is this is what's at issue with it. Work ethic. People go, well, it just doesn't go all time. Well, what is a work ethic, and what does that mean? And the mindset that it takes to understand that to get better at something, you have to work at it. I believe that very much.
Yeah, we're not talking about cutting grass and cleaning up the dog poo in the backyard. We're talking about
you can get better at cleaning it up. I'll tell you.
Well, you can, but I mean, that's not something that you should consider fun to do. I mean, that's a chore, right? You get a reward for the chore, whether it's a new pair of shoes or you get monetary amounts and things like that. When you're trying to play a sport and you're trying to get better, this is on you. This is 100% your effort. This is what you're doing in the backyard. You have to love it. You have to have the drive for this. And yes, at 10 years old, there are kids out there that are really good at 10 years old. And when you see those kids and you wonder why they're that much better than you, it's probably because they're out just playing more than you. Not that they're actually physically gifted more than you. They're just experiencing more. So they're working on a craft, even at 10 years old, even at 8 years old. I mean, we have 8-year-olds in here right now going through a speed and agility courses just to understand moving better. And those kids are all of a sudden becoming better hitters and better throwers. And they're competing just a little bit different already 6 weeks into this program. And so if the proof is there, Lane, and I'm using the eye test here, right? I don't have a whole bunch of data because we're not really data driven. We don't have that kind of technology here, but I'm seeing the results in these kids. You can put a mechanic, a side by side of week 1 through week 6 and watch the different arm actions because they're just a little bit stronger because they're throwing more. They understand how to long toss. It work. At the end of the day, just work. And if you want to be better at 10 years old, just get an extra couple reps in a week, and I bet you'll find yourself getting better.
It's a matter of talking as a parent, talking to the kid, talking to your child. They're playing 10U baseball. They're playing 11, 12, 13, 14, whatever the case may be. How are you working? Do you last week you're upset because you went over 20. Well, how are you working to resolve that? And if it isn't important, if you want to get upset about it, but then you don't put yourself in a position to not go over 20, because over 20s happen. It's not
Oh
like
yeah.
you hear it all the time. Yeah, you just broke an 0 for 24 slump. That happens at every level. It's baseball. It's a tough sport. So it isn't a matter sometimes even an extra rep or whatnot. How are you mentally prepared? How are you setting yourself in that place? How do you understand what it takes to be mentally strong enough to do what you need to do out in the game? And I think that is developing a consistent work ethic as well. What is work
100%.
ethic? Work ethic is about how you develop and how you approach every day doing the things that are necessary for life, period. You go through the day, you have to clean your room, or else, everything you have to do your laundry, or else it just gets piled up and nobody wants to stand around you because your underwear's 3 weeks old. I mean, it just doesn't work, right? I mean, come on. And people go, well, wait a minute. This is what I'm talking about. How do we approach our everyday life? And these are we call baseball life lessons. So developing that work ethic and understanding those things as they go. I see too many parents carrying ball bags,
Oh man, holy smokes! Brian, listen, I'm gonna go. We've been dealing with a lot of youth here as far as ages in the last couple of
I
months
heard his
at the
feelings.
hitting zone. No, you didn't. I can't. I'm just back supporting what you just said and watching the amount of parents. And listen, as a parent, I would love to support my kid at 100,000,000%, but at some point, let them carry their bag because it's part of the responsibilities. I feel like you're not, well, and which this has actually happened to me, but parents aren't going into job interviews. They're not going into the bathroom with you to make sure that you wiped real well, right? So, I mean, at what point can we just let them, if we're going to the part where we're letting them be kids and we're going to let them go to the swimming pool, well, let them carry their swim bag. Let them carry let them carry grocery bags. Make them carry the grocery bags in the house. Like, give them responsibilities, because at the end of the day, that's what life is. That's what baseball is. I feel like it's the one sport that truly gives adversity and more than some other sports. I could be wrong. Wrestling's mentally tough, challenging physically. And I know that every sport has its own, but you fail a ton in this sport. Let them start carrying their bags. Let them figure out how to get out of the nets. Let them figure out how to put their stuff in their bag correctly. Stop babysitting these young people and let them be, buy them a ice cream cone when they're done hitting. Let them carry their bag.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, you want to go grab a soda? You want, that's great. I have no problem with that. No, Justin's like, we're going to go to the Smoothie King, right, son? There you go. The Smoothie King. More healthy.
Smoothie King's probably got too much sugar for Justin. He probably wants you to stop by Club Fitness to get himself a protein shake or something with creatine and whatever he's been putting in his body. He must be on that Pujols diet, apparently.
I'm mimicking Justin right now. Oh man. So and this is the thing, and I've seen it throughout the time. Not everybody, the kid he leaves his glove at the park. Well, I guess you're not playing. I can't go out and buy you another glove. And this is the thing, that responsibility. Don't just acquiesce. You're like, nobody wants to lose a glove. Nobody wants to. But nobody wants to lose equipment. Nobody wants to do this. And I've seen people having to drive back home, kids, parents driving back home, no cleats and whatnot and this and that. I guess you're playing in your socks. Or you're not playing. And the coach, and here's the problem with this too. And this, as far as you're talking about developing work ethic, and then you're talking about youth baseball, when you're talking about that 9, 10, 11, 12, well, that's just hurting the kid. No, it's hurting the team, because if I'm a parent, I'm going to look at the coach and go, I guess he doesn't play today, coach. And everybody, "Oh, that's just mean." No, it's an understanding of how are we developing this process. How are we developing these kids to understand they're accountable for these things? They're accountable to their teammates. They're accountable to their coach. They're accountable for themselves in this respect. Well, a 9-year-old can't do that. Yes, they can. Yes, they can.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me you expect him to be good in school? You expect him to be good in a store. You expect him to be good in car rides, and you expect him to be all this stuff. But yet you're going to tell me that he shouldn't be responsible for his uniform at 9, 10 years old, but you want him responsible to make good grades?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's it. What's the
I can't.
difference?
I can't buy into that. That is sensitivity that okay, I'm not going to say what I want to say
Well,
because it's
no,
a
let's
kid
keep
show. If
this
there's kids
family
watching,
friendly, baby, family friendly.
yeah. This one irks me because I was you can ask my daughter this. We were maybe 2012, so she was a high school athlete. We're going to Oklahoma City to play in a big tournament. First game there, we have our color picked out for our uniforms. My daughter forgot her uniform.
Oh my goodness.
My daughter, the coach's daughter, this is a kid going to college to play, just as a top high school athlete in the area. She did not play the first game. I had parents from my own team tell me she needs to play. That's our 3-hitter. That's our best player or whatever. No, she did not hold up her end of the deal to her teammates. Her teammates, if we lose that game in a big situation that we didn't get a big hit or something, her teammates should be pissed off at her. Excuse me, sorry. I didn't mean to say that like that, but should be upset. And you know what? She had to wear that. She had to own up to it. It's something that responsibility, what made that, what she learned from that. See, I told you I'm not smart. What she learned from that is she literally would take every single uniform everywhere we went from that day forward, whether or not it was in town or out of town. She did not want to let her teammates down. It had nothing to do with me. It had everything to do with her team. And so give them that experience, that embarrassment, the humble that they need out of that. It is absolutely okay to learn at that age group. Let them be. If they fail, they fail.
And that, people say, well, that's not work. That's not job. No, that is work ethic because you're working
It is.
all the time.
It's part of the process.
Yeah, you're working all the time. You're working at life. Right?
Yes.
We're all working at life. So when we talk about developing a consistent work ethic, we're talking about these things and whatnot. And this goes to the next phase of this. So we have a work ethic. Now, relationships. Number 2, I'm looking at get to know your high school coach. Now I'm speaking most of the kids in the early as you're going, and a lot of these things, if you're at 13, 14 right now, and these are things you haven't done as much, you may be behind the 8 ball a little bit. Get to know your high school coach. I don't know of any coach myself, there may be some, whatnot, that doesn't hold a summer camp, right? That that are not part of the baseball community, that you couldn't go, that you see out at the ballpark, and have you even went to and looked up on the school, who is your high school coach at this point? Get to know the coach. Understand that when we do this, and what I mean by getting to know your coach is, how do these kids learn how to develop a relationship outside of their parents and what that should be? And if we're talking to our kids about how we develop relationships, then we can understand how they know how to approach those things. How do I approach the coach? I agree. I don't think a parent should be running up to the high school coach going, "Why ain't my kid playing?" Whatnot. That's high school. Let's long gone are the days of you paying to play and you think that gives you the right to go and yell at somebody for that.
Hang on a second. You got to remember they pay taxes, so I guess that gives them the right nowadays.
No.
I'm
And,
kidding.
and here's the thing. If you feel that there's an issue, there's ways to go about that to get to the coach. You can contact the athletic director and say, hey, I have a problem with these things. I'd love to sit down and have a conversation with the coach and talk to him about these things. There's opportunities and there's ways to go about it as adults and as we develop relationships and those types of things. I've been guilty of some of the bad stuff. And I think we all have at times. So, these are things that I wish I did better in certain places. I did well in some, and I didn't do well in others. And so I'm talking from experience and how you grow and learn and move through. And, that's kind of the way you have to, I think, look at things. And then how do you teach your children to do things better at times, and not make the same mistakes and those types of things. How you develop a relationship helps you learn how you're going to develop those relationships throughout your life. And I think it's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And building that relationship with your coach early can allow for those conversations between that athlete and the coach to happen. And then there's that trust that's built much quicker. And it's obviously with COVID, there's been some issues with being able to host some camps, but you're starting to see the community have them. Wentzville connects to host a camp at Founders Park. We know that we have the freshman GAC camp going in that's held by the GACs, and so you get a chance to know the people, know the community, know what you're playing against. It is available to you, and I am a firm believer, and I'm not saying that you build a relationship with your coach to be the brown noser, if you will. It is about building trust on your program and what the expectations are. I can promise you that if Coach Zare is somewhere and the staff is there, he is going to try to present to the athletes that are there what the culture is. And so he's going to give you insight prior to ever stepping on the field for tryouts. And that relationship has to happen by going to these things. And like right now, for an example, the area is allowed to do open fields. You're a freshman, right? You've gone through the GAC camp. We got rained out most of the week. We got rained out. Now is a great time to be on that field as much as you can, if allowed, because of fall sports. But if you're not, get out there. If you're done with practice, maybe you head up there at the end of it just to show your face. Just because just because you have 20 minutes left of the practice, just go. Just go up there, show who you are, show your face, meet the coaches. And for some odd reason, I don't know if it's because the kids don't drive or something, and so it's a timing thing, but allow them that time if you're a parent. But 100% get to know what you're about to walk into. See what is available at your schools. Check out the athletes that are there. You're building relationships with coaches, but you're also paying attention to what's on the field. So I'm big in relationship building at this high school level.
Absolutely. And that was something I consistently talked with my son about, Justin, and the development, and even with my daughter and other things, developing relationships. She was in the marching band. How do you develop that relationship with that instructor? I mean, that's a big situation and a competitive situation because they're going out and doing the marching. And I was in marching band when I was in high school. It's competitive. It's still a similar thought process and how you're developing those relationships with your band instructor and the people around you so that you all work together, work ethic, because everybody's personalities are different. There's not one, there's maybe a couple of kids that have a similar personality and some over here. So you have all these dynamics going on. And I've always believed that one of the most difficult job of any head coach, manager, whatever the case may be, and at whatever level, except for maybe when you get in 13, 14, but definitely into high school, is you're managing an ego. You're managing an ego, and whatever level, if you're a good player, there is a confidence level, and it borders on the egotist. It borders on the arrogance. We can say what we want to, but that's just the truth of it. Because confidence, to play at a high level, you have to be extremely confident, and it borders on arrogance, and that's just the case of it. So having that understanding of developing relationships and understanding, I liked what you said, to being humble, and what you said about your daughter, bringing having that a little humbleness there, to where I couldn't play, I couldn't help my team, but so it keeps that confidence where it needs to be, rather than moving into the arrogant side, and it creates some other issues. So that relationship, and that's where the coaches, and I think that managing and developing that right relationship, so you'll hear a coach, you'll hear him, because there's a lot of kids that don't hear the coaches. They're listening, but they're not hearing it.
Right, and you're correct. And I think it starts at certain levels of what we expect out of coaches. When you get to the varsity level, and this could be my opinion because I've been able. The only thing I haven't done is coach professional sports, but the job of a coach once you get to the varsity level of high school, in my opinion, is not to lose ball games. Right, you can't go out there and make decisions that's going to cost your team to lose. If you got a pitcher out there dealing, you don't want to yank him out. You want to give him the chance. If you pull him out and you're going to pull in something else because you have a game plan, you go out, lose a ball game, that can change the dynamics in your dugout. And I really firmly believe it at the professional sports, that you're managing the ego. That's what the job is of that coach. It's not to lose the game, right? To make a poor decision there by subbing somebody in and out, and then managing the egos and the personalities that are in a dugout. And I believe that happens at the varsity high school level, college level, and professional sports, because you're supposed to, at least by the time that and I'm talking gameplay more than I am the practice side of things. I'm talking more gameplay. But I lost my train of thought there where I was kind of going with this. But when you're managing these egos, they should already know how to play, right? I mean, you're expecting a kid that plays varsity sports, at least in the GACs, that knows how to do a cut and relay, right? Yes. And so you're not really having those conversations in a game. Right. You are just trying to control the kids from saying, well, why didn't he hit the cutoff? Why didn't he do this? So you have to manage that so that your team doesn't go down the rabbit hole that some teams do with bad personalities in the dugout. So you have to, and which is something we've always talked about, last fall, last winter, or maybe even last spring, that some of the things that we've experienced in dugouts and just watched it in the GACs on how much you hear this talk. That talk can be a negative thing. And so, in my opinion, varsity sports in high school, college, and then obviously professional, we're managing egos and as coaches trying not to lose the game.
And
the athletes do the rest.
Yeah, because it is the athletes. It is the talent on the field producing. And that's as simple as it gets. And that's at any level of sport. You get to know, and in this getting to know the coach, as a player, do you know the tradition? Do you know former players from the school? Now, I understand sometimes if you've just moved in, you don't have a big personality, and you're kind of you a little shy, it's harder to go this. But how well do you know the former players? What do you know about the tradition of the school? Where have they come from? What do they do? So when you walk into the program, you have an understanding of the expectation that you're walking into as well, the respect for those things and that type of situation. I think that is kind of in developing that relationship, the understanding of where the coach is coming from. He's been doing this a long time. He's had success. He's had this. You see this and this and this. Whereas maybe, as a player coming up, you've talked to some of the former players. They haven't had success. You've got a coach that's working hard and whatnot. How do we change the culture? helping those
What do you what do
things.
you when you walk into every gymnasium and basketball court in high school sports or college, what do you see?
Banners.
Banners. And there's so many people that don't look in the rafters. And you have most hallways in your athletic offices have accolades by people, or your districts and conference champions, and all those things. And it irks me, and I'm not a student, and it irks me that people don't know their history of their school. And I'm going to pick on my boys a little bit. I designed a T-shirt that had history on it. It's something that Timberland hasn't done. And I walked up and I asked, "Do you know what this T-shirt's for?" And some of them had no idea that we hadn't won a district championship. We've had a conference championship, but we've gone to district finals, but we've never sealed the deal, and if you look at softball, they've got a state championship. And in my opinion, I'm looking at that going, what can I do to be the first team to win a district championship, to play in the next round, to get a shot, to get to state? That, like, to me, I'm rallying around that as a at a prep rally or any of those things. I am really trying to push my group to do that, but they're not walking down and learning it because they don't care. And maybe some do, but at the end of the day, not enough care.
And I think that there it is, a sense of community. How are you part of the community? And last year, I'll bring this up because my kids are both alums of Zumwalt East, and I'm so glad for Coach Hill, Coach Lautsy. They got their first district title, and they've been working at it a long time. And I was so glad for those guys because they put the work in, and that team, Luke Abishan, the senior, these kids that put in the work, Lucas McGill, I know Brendan Jackson, I'm going to leave somebody, but even the younger guys, Jackson Carter, Eric Williams. I know I'm missing the catcher's name, and it's terrible. Jackson Penn, there it is. Some of these seniors and a few of those, and those guys, they have that. That's part of the tradition there of that school now. They were the first ones. Man, you can't take that away from those guys, right? That's part of that school now, and your name is synonymous with that thought process.
I always think about the winning tradition and what it means. When my daughter was being recruited, she had a chance to go to Louisville for a recruiting trip. And so she's on her official visit. And the first thing they did was take her to the gymnasium. I don't remember the name of Louisville's gym. Right. And they just won the national championship. It was the year that the guy broke his leg that went through his shin, if you can remember that. Kevin Jones or something maybe was his name. And they just won the national championship. They just hung that up. They took the PSAs with potential student athletes that were there for their visits. That's the first place they went, is to show the national championships hanging from the banner in the gym. Right? Everybody that goes to the gymnasium, whether it's basketball or not, gets to see all the other banners that they've won for football, wrestling, whatever. I want to be on that list. I want to be that guy, right? And what is it going to take? And for those guys at Portsmouth East that were able to experience, it's something that that they'll be remembered by teachers that are new there 10, 15 years down the road. If they're still at East, they're going to talk about the first time that team won districts. It's something that won't be forgotten. It's like the whole legends never die kind of thing. And if for a high school kid, they're legends.
And so, and that's the relationship you're building, the community you're building. And I think those things are tremendously important. Last point I want to make here, Mitch, and these are things in my mind. I've seen the lists and I do this. These are the things that I look at, and as my experience and things of that nature. Go to the camp. Go to your high school baseball camps. Go to the camps. Go seek that out and want to be there. It's a little bit tougher sometimes when you're, 8, 9, 10, the elementary school age levels, because sometimes mom and dad just drop you off there and don't know you're going. And the kid really just doesn't want to be there. And I understand.
Plus, you have time to move, right?
Huh?
Plus, you have time to move. You might move. You might be there at 8 years old, but family might move out at 10 years old. So there's a little dedication thing that you might miss. Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to, the child has to want to be there, and as a parent, you've got to talk to him about that. Do you really want to go? Why do you want? Here's the camp. They might have got the flyer and go, look, high school having a camp. What? Yeah, I got to. How many kids actually know about it? How many parents know that these camps exist? That are in that school district, that are playing and know what high school they're going to go to, and know when these things are happening, and are they looking for those things? Are they talking to their kids about them? The difference, you always see the kids with the hustle awards, and the MVPs and whatnot. I always believe those are the kids that, first of all, they're standout athletes at that age. Say what you want to. And they want to be there. They're there because they want to be there, and it shows and coaches notice them. So if you want to be there, everybody talks about, how to get noticed from your coach. Make sure you're wearing your baseball pants and all that. That's fantastic. And I agree. You should show up in a baseball uniform. Okay.
Well, that if you show up in shorts and some sandals, some Crocs in sport mode, you'll get noticed. You do get noticed.
But here's the thing: if all you have is blue jeans, you don't have a pair of baseball pants, but you showed up with your cleats on and a pair of jeans, and you just go out and get it done, coach is still going to notice. He's going to say, "Hey, I noticed." He may even come over and go, "Hey, I noticed you're wearing your jeans. Do you have some baseball pants? I just grew out of them, coach. I haven't been able to go get a pair." Okay, all right.
I'm from North County, and we had kids show up to tryouts that didn't have baseball pants that made the high school baseball team that ended up being pretty good. And don't let that discourage you. But if you talk about building that relationship with that coach, guess what can happen? He'll get you a pair of baseball pants.
Right.
It's all that cycle, as you see that cycle happening. But I agree. Get out, get noticed.
And if you're struggling with money and you need some baseball, St. Louis Youth Sport, go see Billy Mayhall. Billy Mayhall will hook you up. He's a great dude. They do a great job over. If you're looking for something that way, if you're cash strapped, we all understand that. We've all been there in those places. Those are things that we understand, and I know coaches understand about players sometimes and those things. So I understand you want to look the part. That's great. But I'd rather see somebody who plays the part.
I will, I'll give you my experience on doing walk-ons at college and open fields in high school and then tryouts in high school. The guy that stands in the back or the gal that stands in the back, it's very rarely do you get seen. And I'm not saying that you're not good, that you don't have talent. I'm not suggesting that whatsoever, but those players that are in the front of every single line, so many people call them coaches' pets, brown nosers, you name it. We call them something. Those are people that coaches do attach to, and there's a reason why. They're not afraid to make mistakes. They're ready to battle the adversities. They're ready to showcase their skills. They're energetic about being there. They love the sport. Right. And so that's the message that it gives off. Not that it's accurate or not that the kid makes the team. It is literally that's who you're noticing. And you may give the extra thought about, hey, this kid was a great teammate today. He was first in line, patted the kid on the butt, said, good job. Hey, way to get dirty. Like you saw him just running around the field, being a heck of a guy on or gal on the field and trying to make everybody feel, welcome, especially if it's an upperclassman. But when you're a freshman walking into 100 kids in the GACs at a tryout, you're intimidated. Right. How can you showcase yourself to be up front, still with the intimidation that's in front of you. And that courage goes a long ways in coaches' minds, because they feel like when it's 2 outs in the bottom of the 7th and they need a big hit, they're going to remember that courage that you had standing up front in the face of 100 other kids saying, I want this. And
Right.
that's the message that I feel that it's giving, is that you want it. If you're standing in the back of the line, I feel like you don't care. And I know there's only so many people that can stand up there, right? I mean, you're not going to shove people around, but guess what? You can be faster.
Well,
You're competing. Get up there quicker.
This goes to your point. Why do you want to play? Why do you want to be there? Do you want to be there? And I think this goes, why do you want to play the game? What's your passion? And you can tell that there are kids that just want to play over kids that show up because mom and dad are making them play. And we can all say what we want to, but that's just a fair assessment. And the kid may be saying, yeah, I want to play, but they may be not at that. They'll go out and they're looking for the snow cone at the end of the game. Did we win? No, we didn't. Well, all right, let's go swimming. And the parents like, well, no, man, we got to do better because we got to get to the end. We got to get to Sunday, and the trophy and well, that's great and all, but is that what the kid wants?
That's what the kid has to have. Like, that's not an option. If you want to play college sports, you have to be a killer.
Hang on, before we go that far, I'm not even going to that far yet. Okay, I'm talking about youth. I'm talking about youth sports. We're getting to high school. We understand collegiate baseball and all those things are a whole different level. I'm talking about just within, you're looking at your player, your kid, your 9 to 14-year-old, and the things that you're thinking about just to get into the high school and the development of that thought process. And then from there, let that go where it goes, because once they get into high school, it should be that process anyway, the coaches, the work, the things, the child. If you're developing these things between that 9 and 14, I think some of those things might just those are the things that you want to just take over in the person, in your son or daughter as an athlete, and help them move that. And then you can give advice, if they're talking to you, this is what I think, this is what, here's a better decision. You can make, and they're learning how to make decisions in that respect. And the work ethic, if you're not doing it at that point, it's on you. And that shows whether they really want to or not want to.
Yeah, you're correct. And even having the comment about, wanting to be a killer at the end of the day, you still have to have that at that age group. If you want to play this sport at a highest level that you can as an athlete, and again, I'm a firm believer, and I'll say it all the time, the baseball doesn't have a color, it doesn't have a size, it doesn't have a speed. You can have different variables of guys 6'7", guys that are 5'5", guys that are 5'8", and be very, very good at this sport. You have to have a desire and a love and a passion for this game to make it to a level that you want as a player. As a parent, you cannot push your kid to have that. And you may be pushing the wrong buttons. And that's why you see, at 15 years old, a kid all of a sudden wants to drop playing baseball and wants to go play soccer. Why are we doing that? The kid never loved the game of baseball. You always said he loved the baseball because you love the game of baseball. When my daughter didn't want to play the game of softball, I said, well, that's fine. You have to play something. You have to do something. So I made her choose a sport that she, would go out there and love to compete in. I don't like her going out there and just practicing once a week, going out to her game. So I'll question her. When are you going out there working on your serve? She's like, I'm terrible at my serves, Dad. And I said, well, then you don't do nothing to get better at your serves. And why are you complaining? And I'm okay with the kid to play rec baseball.
Yeah.
And just do it for fun.
Just do it for fun. And the other thing is, if you don't want to play, that doesn't mean you have to go play a sport. Find something you're more interested in. Maybe it's chess. Maybe it's music. Maybe it's something else. There are other things, other pursuits in our lives that we can work towards, and those are things that are real. And sometimes we just got to let go of some of our own thoughts to those things. To that point, it doesn't always have to be a sport. I no offense to you. I mean, Mitch, that's just my thinking in some of those things. I'm a
No, not at all. My son's in theater, and you would think that I would want him to. Obviously, I wanted him to play baseball, and he
right.
does, but he only plays it on a level that he wants to have fun at it. But let me tell you what he does. We came home. We were work up here late one night doing cages. We got home at 2 o'clock in the morning. That young man got up for school, and the only reason why he went to school is because it was the third day of his theater practice, and he made it a point to make sure that he was there for his group. That, to me, the process, the dedication, the love, the passion is in for him is in theater. You should see his artwork. He's a creative mind, and he is very different. And so, but how did he get better? It's because he did it over and over and over, going back to your work ethic, mentally challenging yourself to fail at a drawing, to crumble it up, to throw it away, to start all over. That's the same thing that you can relate that to life. You can relate that to the process. And his first day, and I'm supposed to be a man's man. The first day, and I have no problem admitting this. His first, I got to make his opening show, the first play that he did. I was super embarrassed for him. He's awkward. He's unathletic. And he goes out there and he has to open up a scene where he has to do a move. And I'm ready for him just not to make it. And he crushes it. And he makes it. And I started crying. And not like a baby, but I started
I
crying,
understand.
and I had the tears kind of starting to run down my eyes because of the dedication it took that he did at home, 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes a night, just practicing the move so he didn't fall. That to me is what I love so much about baseball. Is if you want something, or just life in general, right? If you want something bad enough, if you love it bad enough, you will do whatever it takes to make it happen. Whether it's love or it's sport.
These are the things that I think are important. All the other things that we talk about as far as showing up in a uniform and make sure you got a hat. I mean, I understand, but we can always, and if we're truthful, as for coaches, whatnot, we can talk to a player. Hey, why didn't you bring a hat? Ask, find out. If the kid's embarrassed, sometimes they won't tell you, well, I don't have one, I couldn't afford one, whatever the case may be. Sometimes those things are. So it isn't always what it seems to be. And I think we've that doesn't mean we don't put a premium on those things or that we don't expect those things. Don't get me wrong. But I think we've taken that approach rather than this approach, and understanding those are the things that are development worthy in the work ethic and the relationship building and the want to be there. And those are the things, if you want to make your high school team, there you go.
That's
Ta-da!
it. I mean, it is one of those things. And Brian, I know that it seems like it's that easy for us because we've been able to do it. We've lived through it. We've played it. We've coached it. You watched your kids go through it. So yes, we do have experience, and we both know the best way to learn experience is to deal with the experience. And so what we're out here trying to do is just encourage you to build a plan. If you're trying to vet youth coaches, why not do that with your high school coaches? If you're trying to get to know what you're about to head into, do it. Pay attention to the newspaper. Pay attention to the highlights. It's all over social media. Follow their social media pages, just like you do with us. Subscribe, hit that dinger, right? Threw that in there. Make sure that you get out and do whatever you can to be a part of the community. That's what I love about football, is because the football community is rowdy. And I would love to see that in baseball and softball or diamond sports in general. And I know that there's not really revenue being brought to the sport, even in high school or even in college, if you will. But at the end of the day, look at the stands during Friday night football.
Yeah.
I mean, freshman games. It's insane. Everybody has got school spirit, but nobody has that school spirit for baseball. You know, you're not wearing your uniforms on game day. You're not wearing a top.
No, and I'll tell you honestly, I've seen this a little bit more, and we've been talking about it. You know, high schools getting out, and I've been out to some of the GAC schools, and I will say that there are a lot of students that are coming out. The GAC attendance for baseball is pretty good.
I probably shouldn't have opened that box without knowing, because I've obviously seen the stands. But when you're not going to get a Warrenton, and I know this is two different sides of the conference, but you're not getting Warrenton and Timberland to fill the stands up, but you will obviously when it's Holt. You know, these high level teams will promote that, but they do promote it. Like look at their community standards. When you look at Twitter, they will promote the games. They will promote pink nights, you know, blackouts or purple, whatever.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I will tell you this. I believe this. It's hard to judge in one way because of the venues. But when I was down at the state championships, Class 6, I believe there was more people at the Francis Howell Central quarterfinal game than there were at the state championship game in Springfield. I would bet money. Because,
I could see that. I mean,
and not because
it was like that when we played
Springfield. It's in Springfield. It's farther away. Do people travel? You saw some students. There was a good crowd. It wasn't bad. That's a big stadium. US Ballpark's a big stadium. So, you know, we're getting off subject here, but that's okay. So get out.
Well, it's part of the process that you have to identify your coaches, right? So at the end of the day, get to know them, follow them on social media, and you can see the things that they're trying to do. And what that does is if you see them playing a big night against these teams, right? Let's say it's a district opener, right? And you want to fill the stands up, and you can go there and see that. So when you're a 12, 13, 14-year-old kid and you know that this is the next step for you as high school sports, or you're starting to realize that, guess what? Go to that game, watch the electricity that happens in some of these big rivalries, because that is going to be that expectation. And what you can learn from that is you take that back to your own team. Instead of that Sunday grind or that Saturday grind, right, when you know you have 2 or 3 games in that day, like, I don't want to be here, just remember what's happening in high school.
Yeah.
If you're going to watch them play, just remember the electricity. Remember that kid that can light up the radar gun when there's scouts behind there shooting, or the big kid getting recruited in the area to go play baseball at a major D1. Like, pay attention to that. If that's what you want, go to that high school that has those kids and find out exactly what you need to know. But you better be paying attention, because there's somebody else watching.
There you go.
That wants it. So you've got to get to know your team. You've got to get to know the community. You've got to get to know your traditions, right? You got to get to know the mascot and what it represents. Don't walk in there and not know what a wolf is, or a Viking, you know, or a Bronco or whatever, an Indian.
Yeah.
Know what you're getting yourself into.
Mitch, as always, bud, good conversation. Lots of fun. Hope everybody watching enjoyed this. Take something from it. Agree, disagree, comment below. I'm sure Justin will throw the comment. We'd love to hear from you. I got to say that more actually as we go through the conversation, but I lose my mind. I'm so focused in. But comment below. Leave us that. We appreciate it. If you like this, share it out. Subscribe and share with your friends. All of those things. We love bringing these conversations, talking about youth baseball, because we believe it is important. You know, there's so many parents and kids and the community itself. That's what Youth Baseball Midwest, we talk about perspective, values, and fun. And this is what it should be about. So remember, hit that dinger as well, because that's what we do around here, right?
Oh, yeah, doubles and dingers.
Doubles and dingers. Have a great day in the Lord, folks. All you pitchers, keep throwing strikes, and hitters,
just hit them over the fence.
There you go. That's even better.
Because they ain't there.
We'll see y'all next time.